Thank you, Grant. The House is resumed. Kia ora tātou, nō reira te whare, inga iwi, inga rio, inga hawe wha, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Honourable members, prior to the dinner break at 6 p.m, the House was debating the National Animal Identification and Tracing Bill. The debate was interrupted. It is now therefore resumed, and I invite some honourable member to seek the call. Right.
Mr. Chair.
I call the Honourable Rick Barker.
Mr. Chair, this is bill before the House in the second reading is the National Animal Identification and Tracing Bill. It's in the name of the Honourable David Carter, who interjects across the House, Minister of Agriculture, and he is the member responsible for it. But it precedes... But the work for this member precedes that good member's work and goes back some time. And it's very important because New Zealand agriculture and New Zealand's economy is based on agriculture. Of that there's no doubt. And very important to our agriculture is, of course, our animals. And we have to have the most up-to-date, modern and scientific approach that we can do to this. And managing the old ways are no longer any good. We have to have new ways of doing these things. And so this bill will see the introduction of animal tracing and identification systems which are vital to controlling and preventing the spread of animal diseases. New Zealand's animal tracing systems need to be updated because we have increasingly higher standard expected of our trading partners. Our trading partners are increasingly concerned about biosecurity issues, about traceability, about health and about hygiene. And we're going to be starting in this area with deer and cattle electronic tags will be compulsory for all stock. Other species may be added in the future. No doubt we will be looking to spread this to sheep, but at this point it is cattle and deer, I presume, not that I'm an expert on this, because of the high incidence of tuberculosis. Now, tuberculosis is a very important problem, and it is spread more widely by the wide range of possums in New Zealand. Not everybody realises the link between possums and tuberculosis.
That's right.
But people think possums sit up trees and just eat pahutakawa or rata. But in actual fact, possums prefer tussock and grass. They like the very lush grass that New Zealand farmers put out, and so they come down to eat. When the possums eat, they leave saliva, and sometimes cattle come along later and eat the same grass. The grass is infected, or can be infected, by TB from the possums. So this then brings into play another part of our important system, which is about possum control. And the country has quite a lot of controversy about possum control because there's been a good deal of possum control undertaken by aerial 1080 drops. These are not always popular, let me tell you. There are people who have severe doubts about the effects, the long-term effects of 1080. They believe that it has an effect on bird life and other animal life. But the people are agreed that we need to reduce the number of possums. Now, I happen to have some interest in this because I've been involved with people who have been involved in possum control before and prefer to see alive bait stations where it's done on the ground. And I think that we can do a great deal more for controlling possums by ground control rather than simply doing it by aerial drops. I know that ground control takes a bit more time to organise. I know that ground control is a bit more difficult, but it's no less expensive, and in fact it's much more effective. So we want to concentrate on reducing TB, and we not only want to concentrate on the contagion, but we also want to do it in terms of managing our animal stock. So Labor also is aware that this bill is very important because it's going to initiate the development of the NAIT system in 2004, which is a quick and effective response to outbreaks of animal disease and could be used if we had that terrible thing, foot and mouth disease, come into New Zealand. This could be incredibly costly to New Zealand's agriculture and be incredibly costly to New Zealand as a whole. We are very fortunate in that we are an island. We don't have any natural predators crossing across the sea to us. We're not abutting up to other countries which have diseases. So we're naturally isolated. And this gives us an advantage to keep diseases out. So New Zealand is very fortunate in this. And this natural advantage we have, we need to maintain by having proper systems to ensure that our stock diseases are reduced. And it is one of those things which we can sell our products with advantage in, is that we are disease-free. Now, maintaining this disease-free status is very important. The one area that we are very at risk with is in the area of TB. Now, we've had some terrible outbreaks of TB in the past. It's been very expensive. We've put in no transfer zones and forbidden stock to be shifted from TB-infected areas into other areas to minimise it. We've undertaken extensive tests of animals in the areas where there were outbreaks of TB. And over the years, with significant control, we've reduced it. This bill is helping to reinforce those control systems necessary to manage disease and to make sure that we manage any future potential outbreaks to ensure that they do not damage New Zealand's disease-free status, and we're able to, in fact, manage things much better. It's a good piece of legislation. It's a piece of legislation that the whole of the House should support, and it's a piece of legislation that Labor supports. And, Mr Speaker, I want to say in conclusion, this is a very good piece of legislation. The Honourable David Carter, who's grinning from ear to ear, this is probably one of the most effective bills that he's put forward in the House, and he's very proud of it, and rightly so. It's got the tick off, but my member to my left interjects, Mr Speaker, and says, who started it? Well, it's like a bit of a bun fight, isn't it? Well, of course, we all know that. All the good ideas sprang from the previous Labor government, and we're very pleased to see that the Honourable David Carter has seen the wisdom of this, not tried to trash it or modify it particularly. He's simply seen the wisdom of this. It's been compelling wisdom, and he's accepted it and continued for it. The only thing I could ask, Mr Speaker, is why didn't the Honourable David Carter get this bill higher up on the order paper and get it passed sooner? Sooner, I would have thought this was a piece of legislation, given the wide support it has across the House, that could have been dealt with in the first year. Could even have made the 90 days of action. But no, the member said he had to get the industry on board. Well, I understand it, Mr Speaker. The industry were very supportive of this piece of legislation. Well, that could be a failure. Well, that could be. The member says that the minister says that we weren't all entirely supportive of this, but it seems to me that this is a place where the minister should have shown leadership, and taken a lead, taken a stand and said, here it is. But obviously he's decided to become the negotiator, the peacemaker, and good luck to him. It's a very good bill, Mr Speaker, and I want to congratulate the Minister and congratulate particularly those members of the Labor Party who had a hand in forming this bill and crafting it before it came back to the House.
I call the